This morning, we start off with a tour of Bailey Nurseries with headquarters in St. Paul, Minnesota, and locations in several US states. It is my pleasure to introduce Terri McEnaney, president of Bailey Nurseries, and a fourth generation leader. Since 1905, Bailey Nurseries has remained a family-owned company serving customers in North America and beyond with high-quality plants and service. Thank you, Terri.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We're honored to be a part of this great program that IPPS has put on today, and we are going to start out with a video that some of our folks put together, not just an overview of Bailey's, but a little bit of behind the scenes with some of the people that make things happen in our company, and I hope you enjoy it. Bailey's is about what we're growing, and we invite you to grow along with us. So we'll start with the video.
Bailey Nurseries is the wholesale growing partner, breeder, and marketing company behind the Endless Summer Hydrangeas, First Edition Shrubs and Trees, and Easy Elegance Roses brands, as well as hundreds of other varieties sold across North America and worldwide. With growing locations in Minnesota, Illinois, Oregon, Washington, and Georgia, Bailey is known for their high-quality plant material, producing over 10 million liners for sales, upshifts, and internal production each year. With the diverse plant mix and product offering, coupled with neighborly customer service, Bailey proudly serves the grower and re-wholesale channel, retail garden centers, landscapers, and other chain stores. A fifth-generation, family-owned business, Bailey employs over 1,000 hardworking women and men, experts in their fields, to push boundaries and keep Bailey at the progressive leading edge of breeding, propagation, production, and marketing. All of this is done to support the Bailey customer and green industry, not only to ensure today's success, but for years to come, with a focus on growing what's next.
We are quality focused first. From propagation to the field through the warehouse, we're committed to getting you the best product we can.
I'd say that our primary role within Bailey is to act as a provider of genetics for either the Endless Summer brand of Hydrangea macrophylla or the First Editions brand of trees and shrubs. Our primary goal is, of course, to provide innovative plants that have exciting new characteristics, but also improved environmental tolerances compared to the plants that you'll find on the market today. I think one of the nicest things about being an in-house breeding company is that we get to work directly with Bailey's marketing team and their product development team to try and develop and tailor our breeding program to suit the needs of our parent company.
It's really about the diversity. We're arguably one of the most diverse propagation nurseries you'll find. Within that, we have many different processes, from seeds to layers, softwood and hardwood cuttings, budding, layering, TC, divisions, root pieces. We're able to approach each plant with careful considerations and finding the best ways to propagate those plants, making it successful for ourselves and our customers. Within that, there's also many different options, including environment and climates, to make that plant grow as successful as possible.
Without our customers, we're nothing. It's a commitment for us to serve their needs and do the best that we can.
At Bailey, when you think about our consumer brands, really, first and foremost, we make sure that we're putting the best plants forward to the consumer, to the grower, and to the retailer. And so from that, when we start developing the marketing around that, it's our job to make sure that we're adding value to everyone that's participating with our brands so that they get the prices that they're looking for, we create the demand that's out there. And so with Endless Summer, First Edition Shrubs and Trees, and Easy Elegance Roses, all of those brands have a national program that's really developed to create that pull-through marketing. We use a number of different mediums to create that demand and generate that interest, whether it's through digital. We're using really innovative things like connected television, which really changed the game for us. We use billboards. Whatever those mediums are, the reality is, number one, we want consumers to know that Endless Summer is a brand that's great for their area. And then from that, growers that are supplying retail can have the confidence to know that that pull-through is happening, so that when a decision has to be made about what to schedule in a production scenario, you can proceed with confidence to know that First Editions plants, Endless Summer, are fully supported and are going to have the demand that is required to be successful.
I think are really two things that, two primary things that have recently happened that have been very significant investments the company's made that supports our customers' needs. First and foremost, probably most recently, the integration of an acquisition of Carlton Plants. So with the acquisition of Carlton Plants, it's really bringing two strong companies together with two really great groups of employees. The focus being consistent best practices. Our managers are making the right decisions of what needs to be grown where to best benefit the plant and the company, and all that comes back to basically the liner that we're putting into our pots. And so it's giving us more options, more depth in our product line, and just it's really upping the bar on the quality of the plant that we're putting into our container that essentially makes our job easier in container production and really ups the quality of what we're shipping to our customers.
Better Together best describes the integration of Bailey Nurseries and Carlton Plants. We've taken the best of both companies, integrated them into one common practice to provide the best products for our customers.
So another significant investment that Bailey's has made in regards to our container operations has been the acquisition of our Illinois operation. We've been at that location now for 10 years. The landscape of that operation has changed, it's grown, it's shifted a little bit. That's really helped benefit our customers. It's put us closer to some of our accounts in the Chicagoland area, throughout the state of Illinois, into southern Wisconsin, into Indiana, closer to St. Louis. It's really benefited those accounts. They've been able to get some product out of Illinois sooner than we would traditionally be able to supply that out of Minnesota. So there's a benefit there. There's also a benefit, some of their timing on their product is different. And so for some of our larger accounts, they're utilizing our Illinois operation along with our Minnesota and Oregon operations to really figure out when they need to be bringing in their product and from what location.
Working with collaborators, foundations such as the IPPS, other nurseries, network growers, universities, really to advance that propagation process. Current advancements at the nursery include tissue culture initiation, acclimatization, with LED or conventional greenhouses, incorporating fertilizer at the propagation stage, and just looking at IBA trials and different methods of IBA application, and also unlocking production success both here and with some of our partners through different types of trays and pots and flats.
I'd say our number one priority is without a doubt Hydrangea macrophylla. As you know, Endless Summer is arguably the world's best-selling brand of Hydrangea macrophylla, and we want to be able to keep it that way. We want to be able to provide superior genetics that will continue to feed that brand for years to come. And in order to do that, we have to really thoroughly vet our plants. And so not only breeding, but actively trialing our plants for the Endless Summer program is without a doubt the number one objective that we've got. Being a southern company, we also breed with a lot of southern genera like Lagerstroemia and Vitex and Viburnum. And just like with Hydrangea macrophylla, we have found selections that have a tendency to rebloom throughout the year, providing a lot more seasonal interest than a plant which will only flower once.
Whether you're in production, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, the advancements out there are constantly evolving. And I think that in the marketing realm, when we think about the marketplace and how it's shifting, there's so many different behaviors happening today than ever before. We're seeing that in how people shop. I mean, this pandemic has taught us that consumers are more willing to buy plants online than ever before. They're also, we're also seeing young people, young millennial people, and even younger, starting to come into that phase of home ownership that 3 or 4 years ago was really not in the cards. It was simply unattainable because the job market was so tough, and not that the job market's any better, but more and more before this pandemic and as things progress, millennials are starting to enter that home ownership. So how they shop, what they're looking for, and how they connect with brands and vendors and suppliers and retailers is totally different than it was with mom and dad. And so from a marketing standpoint, we know we have to continue to evolve our message, to meet the needs of the consumer. And one of the things that we've done this year with great success already, and we're not even a full year into it, is the evolution of our First Editions brand, where we repackaged that brand, we repositioned it to make sure that we were reaching young homeowners, but still not alienating people that just love plants. And so we developed a really innovative package around it, brightened up the pot colors so that it stands out at retail, changed the messaging with the dynamic tag so that it really stood out, but it really bridged the gap so that consumers who would feel that connectivity to the brand. And then before you know it, they're just off and running. And once they have success with one great Rockstar variety in First Editions, they're apt to move on to the next one. And so that's just one example of a number of things that are happening in marketing that are showing us and how consumers are thinking about plants. And so we're excited to continue to generate that connectivity so that interest level and that future success continues to rise.
Being responsible stewards, not only of the land, of the water, of our natural resources. These are all really important to us.
We consume and use a lot of plastic, whether it's polyfilm that goes over our wintering structures or our plants in the winter or our greenhouses, to the plastic pots that we're using on a day-to-day basis. We've partnered with a company called Revolution Plastics. The last 2 years now, we have been able to recycle about close to 250,000 pounds of polyfilm. That polyfilm would have normally gone to a dumpster and into a landfill. Using that and reusing it, recycling it, has been a great benefit for both companies. We've been recycling our plastic containers for quite a few years. We've recycled just shy of 1 million pounds of plastics in the last 3 years alone. That plastic that is a part of our business on a day-to-day basis is actually going either back into the industry or back into another industry, and it's being reused in the right way.
Let's describe our department's philosophy: teamwork. Every job is important. Everybody's tasks are important. We're all in this together.
Department's philosophy or credo is that attention to detail is paramount in everything that we do. In plant breeding, attention to detail is especially important. A person is often tasked with moving pollen from one plant to another, but also detailed record keeping and thorough trials are a really essential part to the plant selection process. So making sure that we do our homework is the best way that we can ensure the product we develop and eventually introduce to the market is the best possible product we can deliver.
Well, I'm fortunate to work with extremely talented, dedicated, dependable, and passionate people. There is a we can do attitude. I hear often "si se puede," yes we can. When it comes to the nursery and the propagation department, we're always looking that we can do this, we can get it done, and just looking for those ways to make it happen. We've had crop failures in the past, and we will again in the future. But it's learning from those failures and learning from those mistakes to come through together with a more positive outlook and learn and have confidence that we can learn and grow from each other.
Efficiently produce and ship a high quality product consistently to meet our customers' needs and be a reliable resource for our customers. That word consistency is key, and it's way easier said than done. I think essentially our product mix that we offer in containers, it needs to evolve because our customers are evolving, but more importantly, our end consumer is changing. So it needs to constantly be looked at and questioned. Are we doing the right thing? Are we offering the right product out of the right location? As those other primary variables change with our customers and our end consumers. I do think that over the course of the next coming years, we're going to continue to see our product line grow and evolve in regards to new varieties and new selections that are coming out of our own breeding program.
So our philosophy in marketing at Bailey is hopefully one that's shared by any organization that's focused on learning and constantly focused on improvements. Me personally, I've been in this industry for 18, 20 years. Actually, I think a bit longer now that I remember that. The one thing I do know about myself is that I don't know nearly as much as the people around me. And so as a team, a marketing team, we really focus on making sure that we've got the right skills, the right people in place to leverage their talent, to learn from one another, to support each other, and ultimately put our best foot forward each and every day, because we're all taking advantage of everyone's strengths and input. And so I think the same is true for any operation. Whether you're propagating plants and all of a sudden you realize, hey, there's a different technique of doing things, and it was brought along by someone on the team. I very much feel the same way about marketing and what that philosophy means to not only our team, but the organization as a whole.
What's next for Bailey Nurseries? Continual improvement, whether it's growing the newest and latest varieties from our breeding program to improving our practices. We are here to ensure you get the best product as our customer.
I would say that we're going to continue to develop trialing procedures and practices that really help thoroughly vet our plants to make sure that we're putting them through the ringer and we're really trialing them and testing them in every way possible so that we can ensure that the product we deliver to the grower gives them success so that their customers can have success, and those growers will then have success in the home garden, hopefully encouraging them to come back to the brands that they've had success with, specifically Endless Summer and First Editions. We're going to also continue experimenting with different forms of plant transformation, both in tissue culture and out of, but primarily focusing on our trialing process and really honing in on the best possible practices for the production industry is one of the most important things that we could do at Bailey Innovations.
What's next for Bailey propagation? Well, gosh, it's really there's really a great future ahead of us. I'm working with a great team. Since the acquisition of Carlton Plants, we've really come together, have a great propagation team that I'm really excited about, honestly. Diversifying our production and propagation lines and looking at new opportunities with great new staff. We're working on really wonderful things, like I mentioned, TC advancements, acclimatization through different areas. We're working with wireless sensors, LoRa technology, and just creating a sense of a new propagation department. Really great opportunities and great possibilities for the nursery.
So I think what you'll see is a continued focus on new introductions and new plants and new breeding that's coming out of our own breeding facilities here at the nursery, in addition to other breeders across the country that are trying to find new and better selections. That's going to keep our mix fresh and new and interesting here at Bailey's. And I think that, along with marketing and sales support for our customers to better promote those brands, that is the direction the container operations going here at Bailey's, and that's the direction we're seeing container operations going across the country. It's about what's new, it's about what's next, but it's also about making sure that our company stands behind those products and offers the support, whether that's through marketing resources, advertising assistance, but also production knowledge. And so I continue to see, as our network grows of new plants and new introductions, I still see a very critical part of our production here at Bailey's is going to be continuing to reach out to our partners, our other growers, and lean on each other and get information from each other on how best to produce a certain plant or a set of new plants to basically help strengthen our networks and our industry.
With over 115 years of growing experience, Bailey uses that solid foundation to build a strong future, continually learning and adapting to climate changes, market shifts, and industry demands. A progressive partner that offers needs-based solutions, a friendly resource in tough times and prosperous times, a forward-thinking pioneer in horticulture and consumer marketing. Join us in growing what's next.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I wish we were in beautiful Ontario today instead of being on space. I had to get up this morning and put lipstick on, so it's odd to be looking at myself with being all cleaned up, as most of us probably haven't been over the last several months. But But we have to be flexible at this time. And as one of my coworkers likes to say, we have to get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable. So as you can see by the video, we have some very passionate people that work for us, and many of them are active members of IPPS. I want to just briefly recognize a couple folks that have retired, but were very active in IPPS. We had Jim McConnell and Mike Anderson, Alan Elliott on the out on the West Coast that were very active in IPPS. My great uncle, Vincent Bailey, was actually one of the early members of IPPS. I remember my dad going to IPPS meetings, and one of my biggest mentors in my career, Vern Black, was an active member as well. And Vern sent me an email the other day. He's been retired for a few years up in his cabin in the woods. But I thought I would share with you some of his thoughts about IPPS. He said, I remember always coming back from the meetings with new ideas on improving our methods and striving to do better. I learned early on that the skill of the propagator and the liner that is produced is a big factor in the success of the company. If you don't start out good, you don't end up very good either, I think. I still have friendships that I keep in contact with and cherish those made through IPPS, which is, I think, a great tribute to your organization. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the history of the company, a little of my background, and that's some of the things that we are doing during COVID times and also looking into the future. So I was born in the frozen tundra of Minnesota. I just checked the temperature. It's 16 degrees here today, so not normal for October, but we're still trying to harvest and get things covered up, but not the best situation. But I was raised in the family business. My great-grandfather, John Vincent Bailey, built the homestead in 1902 in Minnesota here, and that home was really transitioned into part of our main office today. He started by selling trees and shrubs, but also fruits and vegetables at the St. Paul's Farmers Market, and was truly an innovative person in the horticulture industry. I grew up across the street from my grandparents, and just loved being able to go over there, get a nice warm chocolate chip cookie, play a game of cards, but most often just listening to the conversations of all the visitors and family that would gather at their home. And, it just was a different time. You didn't have the distractions of cell phones and TVs, and they really made you feel like you were the center of attention, and they just really treated everyone the same. And I think because of that, there was just this admiration and loyalty from both family and friends, but as well as employees who really looked at them as people to really look up to and be leaders in our organization. So I think in COVID times, we've kind of gotten a little back to some of that, where we've had to slow down a little bit. We can't be on the go all the time, and we're able to spend time in our own yards. I've seen more people visiting parks, working in their yards, making outdoor rooms in their homes by doing landscaping and that type of thing. It's been great for our industry to see that people are recognizing the enjoyment of these kinds of activities, and how in the future, maybe they will continue to do some of those types of things and prioritize what they do with their time and their money. The millennials are 88 million strong, and a huge market for us, and a talent pool that's 15% larger than the boomers, and they will influence our industry greatly. They are seeking to learn and about our products and how to be successful with it, and it's our job to try to do that. It's especially rewarding to really for me to see people that are getting interested in plants and have kind of created their own oasis in their homes, a space that people can really enjoy and have been able to do that in good times as well as the times that we're in right now, which are sometimes not so great. So my dad, Rod, in the early 60s, ran our propagation. And at that time, it was just 3 glass greenhouses across from the office with a few sand beds. He would come home from work totally exhausted, fall down on the couch and fall fast asleep. I think many times thinking that he's got a night ahead of him, that he may have to be up going in and checking if things are going okay. Of course, they didn't have the technology back then to have something to tell him that things were maybe not going quite right there. I spent most of my teenage years and into college working in propagation as well, planting softwood cuttings, and it was a great time in my life. I really enjoyed the hard work, the long hours, but we also had a lot of fun while we were working. And still today, I think about the day when I can work in my yard all day long and come into the house dirty and sweaty and jump in that shower and feel like I really accomplished something. And I can sit back that evening maybe and look at what I have done. And I think it's a sense of accomplishment. I think we all learned in my generation, and as many of you probably have, that work ethic is so important to have learned at a young age. And I think it's important for young people today as well. So I took a break from the nursery. I went to college and got a degree in business and accounting. I worked at a large organization, 3M company, for many years. It was a great experience to be working outside of the industry and really encourage that. In fact, we require our next generation to have worked outside of the industry for 2 or 3 years at the least. And I think that is going to be very helpful for them going forward. I spent some time at home with my 4 children, and then now I've been back at the nursery for 30 years. I can't believe it's already been that long, but working with my dad, my uncle, my cousins, my brothers, and most recently a couple of my sons, has just been really rewarding. It is a privilege to be able to participate in a business that's being carried forward generation to generation. No question, it's not easy. It takes a lot of communication in order to get a group of people aligned around the same strategy. Fortunately, we all kind of grew up together. We have shared values and respect each other. And I think that kind of a theme of my talk today is that connection and communication with each other is extremely important to be successful. For us, we try to do as best we can to separate the business from personal and take as much effort as we can to try to make sure that we can continue to operate the business going forward with that family feel, not just family members, but with our employees as well. Ultimately, our job is to be looking at what is the best interest of the company and for our employees, and we continue to focus on that today. I really love being a part of this industry, and today I'll share with you some of the things that have helped me and our family continue to grow our business and our relationships. It comes down to connecting and collaborating with people, positioning our product, and following important principles that we need to tie together, not only from an industry level, but also as an individual. So the audience today, I'm going to talk about people, product, and principles, and some of the things that we're doing here at Bailey's. But this audience is quite broad. I understand we have students, we have propagators, we have academia, business owners, and probably some retirees as well. But it doesn't matter what your role is, how big your company is, or if you're just getting into the industry. It's really all about people and how we connect. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've been doing during this past year in 2020 with the onset of COVID, and I get into a little bit more of what we're doing from a people perspective. So I've got a list here, I'm kind of following them. So, but first of all, back in March when COVID hit, we're very serious about focusing in on basically our mantra on a daily basis of keeping our employees safe and healthy above anything else. Certainly it was a busy time, and there was a lot of uncertainty and fear. I think people were not sure what should be done, and we just really acknowledged that and tried to make sure that we were open with our employees. We communicated on a very consistent basis. Weekly, we would put out either an email or a video, just trying to share with them what we're doing. We're trying to use the CDC guidelines, keeping areas as clean as possible, and protecting them as best we can. Transparency is very important. It helps build trust, and I think that that's paid off very well for us. Our team really stepped up to the plate. I can't say enough good things about our organization and our industry, really. Our sales team had to really expand the tools in their toolbox to be able to communicate with customers. And as the season progressed, being able to take an order and using a virtual tool. Certainly we did some limited travel this summer, but there's been a lot of change, and a lot of people have had to adapt to those changes. But I think we found some bright spots in what we can be doing better, and hopefully we'll learn from that in the future. We said a lot of thank yous. We have celebrated a lot of milestones and achievements, and we've told our team how proud we are of their bravery and accomplishments. It's mentioned in the video, working better together, but also serving each other as well as our customers. I think it's important that each and every person's value and showing not just our appreciation, but explaining why and how their hard work has had positive impact, not only on our customers, their employees, their families, but the ultimate consumer being able to get our product as well. We have quite a few people working from home. We recently did a survey, and I think that was really helpful for us to really be able to develop a policy going forward for people working from home. It has allowed our employees flexibility, comfort of where they're working, being able to maximize their performance and be satisfied in their job. But allowing their voices to be heard in these surveys, I think, is really helpful. It helps build trust. And knowing that we do respect what they're having to say, and hopefully earns loyalty. Our full-time and seasonal employees have been rock stars. A good example, one of my HR managers, I think both of our HR managers probably have been involved this last year of going and buying groceries for some of our employees that have had to quarantine or be taken to doctors, and people have just gone that extra mile. Our H2A employees, we had 160 this year, arrived right at when COVID was starting, and just the nature of them living together in close proximity, transporting to work, and also working closely together. They have just really stepped up to follow guidelines to help protect themselves and others that they work with. We recognize that there has to be a focus and support for the government programs like H2A and H2B. Labor is, of course, the biggest issue I think that we all face. And we have to look at ways of how we can improve those programs, in addition to investing in mechanization, really look at our processes and how we can improve them, and using technology to help as well. Innovation has been a part of our business from the very beginning, and it's even more important now as we enter a time of uncertainty going forward in the next few years. It's really important that we invest in our employees. We just putting some TVs into our lunchrooms and connecting that so we can connect better with us being across multiple states and being able to get information out to our employees, but also to, keep them informed and have some fun with it as well. Education and training is important. We look at being competitive from a compensation standpoint as well as our benefits. Always taking a look at that. It's really important for everybody, I think, but many young folks are coming in and said, I really want to understand what my career path is, and having somebody to mentor them and help them through trying to figure out what they want in their career and how best to manage that, I think has been really helpful. And then just listening to our employees is really important, and just planning on some small groups getting together that have been working from home, just to have a little bit of contact with them, to be able to talk through things and be able to answer questions for them is something that we think is important to take the time to do. Of course, we all think about our future employees and where are they coming from. Very happy to be part of an organization, Seed Your Future, that is really looking at trying to bring young people into our industry and finding interest in that there is a viable career opportunity here in horticulture. Of course, it's always important to encourage people to learn and to network and to grow. I prefer as much direct communication as possible. Sometimes email, I think, can be not as personal. So picking up the telephone, participating in the industry in other ways, I think fellowship and giving our time to others is really important. I'll give Dr. Michael Durr as a great example of somebody who is a lifelong learner. And if you ever have seen him at any of these types of events or a trade show, he is constantly walking around, talking to other people, asking questions. And I just think that that's a great example for any young person that's coming into the industry to ask questions, get uncomfortable, I guess, in what you do by asking questions and provoking thought of what's important for the future. We are a small industry, and that one person can make a difference. And I look at B. Arthur is on this program, and she was an instrumental part, or the part, of starting Emergent, which is the social media Facebook of connecting and gathering people virtually and in person together to build energy and community and involvement in our industry. I think it's a great thing. Some of our own managers have worked with some of our production folks to come up with new programs and new product offerings. One that we call Jump Starts, and that is one of our fastest growing lines today. So maybe somebody on this call will be somebody that's going to come up with an idea for the future of our industry that's going to make a big splash and a big difference. And I hope so. So our customers are ever changing, and they still look for consistency, reliability, quality, that product that's in demand, and service that they can trust. Alec talked on the video about the changing end consumer. We belong to a group called Home Garden Panel that does surveys. And they talked, there was a significant increase in purchases by millennials this past year. And of course, they're seeking more information and wanting to learn more about our product. But one thing that was really stood out is the amount of purchases that have been occurring online. And fortunately, the results of the survey show that we must be doing a pretty good job at it, because 86% of the respondents said that they intended to purchase their plants online again. So it's something to keep in mind, looking out to the future. We always need to be thinking ahead and beyond today, and how our product will be perceived, as well as changing. So growing what's next is really one of our mottos, and it's led us in several strategic moves in recent years. And I think it was brought up in the video about our connection with Plant Introductions, Inc. and the ability to bring new genetics to market. And that has led us into the venture of Bailey Innovations. The acquisition of Carlton Plants, I think John did a really good job of explaining how that integration has been so successful for our organization and our people. It's really energized our group, and I think it's made us better together, as it's stated. Our power of partnership with the number of network growers that we work with around the world is not only great in bringing us together with our brands and the genetics, but sharing our growing and business practices and learning from each other has been really exceptional. The relaunch of our First Editions brand, I think you got to see a flash of some of the new look and feel of that, really targeted at that millennial group. It's just something new that we think is fun and really going to be helpful in the future. So trends, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, probably our #1 seller was ash trees. Today it's hydrangeas by a long shot, but product mix continues to evolve in the future. So business acumen is a necessity today more than ever. My grandfather, Gordon Bailey, had strong influence on us for a solid business discipline, attention to detail, investing in our company and our people, but also having a conservative nature and long-term view. Those principles have really guided us in our direction today. A few things quickly that we are doing for our future. We really utilize strategic planning. We use a facilitator and bring different people together to really focus in on just a few goals and initiatives per year so that we really focus in and get that one thing accomplished or two things. We use an outside board of advisors. I'd highly recommend it if you're in a business that is growing. They certainly can bring a different perspective. We participate in the Eagle Group, Charlie Hall, with his economic forecasts, and use the market metrics so that we can compare how we're doing financially against some of our peers. And of course, just the collaboration of ideas there. We've worked with the Lean Consortium in Oregon and also have hired Flow Vision for some of our process improvements. We certainly are very involved and supportive of our industry's associations for advocacy, and we couldn't have done some of the things that we did this past year without the support of our associations. I think we have to all recognize that what the great job they are doing for us. And also, we've been focusing on selling more of what we grow. We can't afford to be throwing product away. So the month of October, we spend time looking at our forecasts and looking at the mix that we're growing, what kind of margins we're making on that product, and really who do we best serve. So for us, we're really looking at modest growth and really focusing on some of these investments we've made in the last few years to get that return on that investment. If you are a company that's transitioning in leadership, I think it's important that you recognize that you have time set aside to prepare for that. And of course, looking at new opportunities like online, which is something that we're behind the 8 ball on that we've got to get more work on to doing. So just to end with a couple of some of my philosophies, I think it's important that each day we kind of look at ourselves and say what's important to us and what's important to live by. And for me, being positive is one of the most important things in this day and era. Being kind to others and show that you care is really important. Surround yourself with great people. I think Alex said, we don't know it all. We make a lot of mistakes and we learn from each other. So I think that's really important. And then just to be true to your core values in the best interest of your people and your organization. So I hope that I was able to share with you a little bit from this meeting. I know you've got a lot to learn over the next several couple of days, and I wish you all well. I appreciate your attention, and hopefully if you have a few questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Terri. That was amazing. And we do have a lot of questions coming in. There's a few on the Q&A. I've been getting a bunch on my phone from people that I know well. Since we have a leader of such a large family-run and owned nursery, I thought I'd start with something near and dear to my heart since I work at a very small family-owned and run nursery. What challenges and words of wisdom do you have for someone that is leading a family company? There's a lot of different minutiae to navigate there. Do you have any insights that you could share with us, since a lot of us do work at family nurseries?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, it is all about communication, and for us, having sometimes 12 family members in a room, and you're not all going to agree. And I will say my dad and my uncle were probably the best at this. They worked with their father for many years, but they didn't agree on things. They would go behind closed doors and duke it out, I suppose. We're not really a vocal family, but a lot of times it's hard to get out of people what they really think. But it's important that you vet that out, but then you have to come to agreement. Alignment is, to me, the number one word. Communication, alignment, and then support for those decisions that are made going forward. And that's where you're going to have your employees be able to get behind you. If they feel like you're going in 2 or 3 different directions, they'll get frustrated, and you'll lose the momentum that you need as a company. So you're right. It doesn't matter if it's 20 people or 200 people. That communication and alignment is really important.
Perfect. Yes, I found the same here.
And separate family, business, and as much as you can separate. We try. We have a cat, and we all have a escape in the North Woods that we go to. We have been going to our whole lives, and it's a time where you're family, you're not business.
Right. Thank you for that. I think we'll maybe go over to weather. I know it's cold there. I'm in Wisconsin, so it's a little bit warmer here. We were wondering if possibly you had some damage already from the weather on your plants, and then that sort of leads into how do you manage having nurseries in the north and then selling to customers in the south that may be far ahead of where you are with the weather?
Well, we're a northern nursery. I mean, we have a nursery in Illinois, but that's only a couple of weeks earlier. Our main focus is in the northern climates, and that's where we partner. We've over the years partnered with other growers to sell our genetics in the southern parts of the country, and so we know that where we can serve best is in more of in closer proximity to where we grow. And I don't think we've had any damage. I think we've done some pretty remarkable things over the last 10 days of people working to get things covered up and watering everything in and freezing them. And then I don't know all that they're doing, but they figure it out. And I mean, we've had a tornado this year. We've had hail. We're just waiting. At least we don't get earthquakes or hurricanes. But weather is something we all face. We all are in this business that have risks, and that weather aspect is a huge part of it. It's a given. We just know that there's going to be things that are going to affect us.
Sure. Yep. Weather's always going to throw you a curveball. It's fun up here. Since I run a tissue culture lab, I'm going to go ahead and ask something about your acquisition of the Carlton Tissue Culture Lab. And we did have a question about what taxa you specifically grow in the lab, and maybe some other propagation techniques that you might use for some of the other plants that you grow.
Okay. Well, I I can kind of give an overview in the tissue culture lab. I don't know. I asked Dave Gross to come to be on call if he wants to add anything to it. I didn't ask Angela. She might be on the phone as well, but Angela is amazing, who runs our tissue culture lab at Carleton. Well, not Carleton Plants anymore. That's part of Bailey's, but in Dayton. And I know that they originally were doing a lot of rootstock's not the right word, but understock for for fruit trees. And I know we have acers. We have this is a broad selection, but it's very, very disciplined in the types of things that they are working on. And I'll have to have maybe somebody respond to you on that as far as what they all are, all the different varieties that we're growing. But it opens up just a lot more opportunity. I think we're using that for a lot more trees now, and getting more uniformity and consistency. I know when I visited Australia several years ago, Fleming's Nursery had just bought a tissue culture lab because they were growing a lot of native trees, and they were getting the curves, and the tissue culture lab was really an answer for them to get more consistency and be able to build up stock sooner and quicker.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of different plants there that you could talk about.
Oh, there she is. She's listening.
Seen the lab. It's amazing. She does a great job there. I'm super impressed, and it's way bigger than what we do here. But yeah, it was a good time. I will ask one more question here, and this is COVID related. Is there a plan B at Bailey should COVID adversely affect the return of the H2A staff next spring?
Well, that's certainly a big concern, and we actually, our HR managers, a couple of them are going to Mexico next week, I believe, to meet with our employees down there and do some additional recruiting. We brought fewer employees in this past year because of the COVID situation, and we are always working on Plan B and Plan C, and certainly it's on our mind. Yeah, there's people that are unemployed out there, but having a returning, consistent workforce, and we rely heavily, as many nurseries, many in our industry do. I don't. It would be devastating if that were to happen, and sure, we'd come up with some plans, but we'd be scrambling because so many of the employees that have been part of that program with us for so many years play key roles, and the ability to just come in and start working without having to go through training, and the amazing work ethic that they have alongside our full-time employees, I think is critical to be able to get product out in the spring when there is such a short window of time that all of our businesses really sell a high percentage of our product and ship it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this for IPPS.